The mahogany boardroom of Harrison Industries felt especially suffocating that morning. 20 pairs of eyes watched as I arranged papers and water glasses, the same routine I'd performed for 5 years. Ever since Uncle Richard declared that starting from the bottom was the only way to learn the family business. If only he knew that while I played secretary by day, I was secretly running Global Dynamics, the fastest-growing tech consulting firm in Asia, by night. "Sarah, coffee for the board members," Uncle Richard barked, adjusting his Rolex with that familiar smug expression. "And try not to spill it this time." I bit back a smile, thinking of the $500 million deal I'd closed from my phone in the supply closet yesterday. "Right away, Uncle Richard." The quarterly shareholders' meeting was particularly tense today. Harrison Industries, a century-old manufacturing company, was losing ground to more innovative competitors. Uncle Richard's leadership style, stuck somewhere between 1950s autocracy and 1980s excess, wasn't exactly helping. "As you can see from the projections," he droned on, "our traditional methods have served us well for generations. We don't need to chase every new technological trend." I carefully placed a coffee cup in front of Mr. Jenkins, our oldest board member, while simultaneously checking my hidden earpiece. My actual executive team at Global Dynamics was updating me on our latest acquisition. "The Japanese merger is complete," whispered James, my CFO, through the discreet device. "Stocks up 12% in Tokyo." "And the Singapore office?" I murmured, pretending to adjust my hair. "Exceeding projections by 40%. By the way, the Financial Times interview is confirmed for next week. They're calling you the Shadow CEO, the mysterious woman revolutionizing Asian tech markets." Uncle Richard's voice cut through my conversation. "Sarah, are you daydreaming again? The board members need their reports." I distributed the folders, fighting to keep my expression neutral as I noticed their outdated projections and flawed analysis. Harrison Industries was bleeding market share, but Uncle Richard remained convinced that tradition would save them. "Now," he continued, "about this ridiculous suggestion to digitize our operations." Actually, I couldn't help interjecting, digitization could increase efficiency by at least 30%. The room fell silent. Uncle Richard's face reddened. "Sarah, you're here to take notes, not offer opinions. Know your place. But the market data clearly shows." "Enough." He slammed his hand on the table. "You're just the secretary. Leave the real business decisions to those qualified to make them." Just then, the boardroom doors burst open. Mr. Tanaka, CEO of Asia's largest tech conglomerate and Harrison Industries' most important potential client, strode in with his entourage. "Sarah," he exclaimed warmly, "there's my brilliant CEO. I just flew in to finalize our partnership personally." The room froze. Uncle Richard's coffee cup clattered against his saucer. "I must say," Mr. Tanaka continued, "Global Dynamics' transformation of the Asian market is remarkable. Your vision for integrating AI with traditional manufacturing is revolutionary." "Global Dynamics?" Uncle Richard stammered. "But that's the company that's been eating our market share in Asia." Mr. Tanaka looked confused. "Yes, under Sarah's leadership, they've become the most innovative force in the industry. That's why we're moving all our contracts from Harrison Industries to them." He turned to me. "Though I'm confused why you're serving coffee, Sarah. Shouldn't you be running this meeting?" I straightened up, finally dropping the subservient posture I'd maintained for years. "Actually, Mr. Tanaka, I was just about to make an announcement." From my secretary's notebook, I pulled out a stack of documents and handed them to the board's legal counsel. As of this morning, Global Dynamics owns 51% of Harrison Industries shares. I've spent the last 5 years quietly buying them through various shell companies. Uncle Richard's face went from red to white. That's impossible. You're just a secretary? I smiled, pulling up Global Dynamics' latest market data on the boardroom screen with my phone. While you were teaching me to know my place, I built a company worth 10 times what Harrison Industries is worth today. The board members were frantically Googling on their phones, expressions shifting from shock to awe as they discovered who I really was. The shadow CEO, Mr. Jenkins whispered. It was you all along. Sarah Harrison, Mr. Tanaka announced proudly. The woman who transformed Asian manufacturing while her own family underestimated her. Rather ironic, isn't it? I took my uncle's seat at the head of the table, enjoying the way he stumbled back in shock. Now, about that digitization plan. My phone buzzed. Global Dynamics stock had just jumped another 15% on news of the acquisition. Uncle Richard's precious Rolex suddenly looked very outdated compared to my quantum-powered smartwatch that controlled operations across 3 continents. Shall we begin the real meeting? I asked, opening my laptop. I believe we have some long overdue changes to discuss. The secretary's notebook lay abandoned on the side table, 5 years of careful notes and secret strategies finally paying off. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's succeeding so spectacularly that those who doubted you have to watch you take their power right from under their noses. And this was just the beginning. The next 24 hours were a masterclass in corporate restructuring. The Harrison Industries boardroom, once my prison of pretense, had become my command center. Screens displayed real-time data from Global Dynamics operations worldwide, while my actual executive team coordinated the merger via holographic conference. The Asian markets are ecstatic, James reported, his hologram gesturing to the latest figures. Harrison Industries stock jumped 40% just on the announcement of our takeover. They're calling it the Secretary's Coup on CNBC. I smiled, remembering Uncle Richard's face when security had escorted him from his office, my office now. And the family? In complete meltdown. Your Aunt Patricia has called every society columnist in town, trying to explain why she never mentioned her entrepreneurial niece before. Your cousins have suddenly updated their LinkedIn profiles to highlight their connection to you. And Uncle Richard. James grinned. He's been sitting in his country club for 6 hours, drinking scotch, and telling anyone who'll listen that he taught you everything you know. How generous of him, I replied, watching our merger announcement dominate every financial news channel. Though I don't recall how to secretly build a multi-billion-dollar empire being part of his mentorship program. My phone lit up with my mother's face, the 20th call since yesterday's revelation. This time, I answered. The family emergency meeting is in chaos, she blurted. Grandmother keeps showing everyone that Forbes article about the shadow CEO and asking why nobody noticed her granddaughter was running Asia's fastest growing company. Perhaps they were too busy telling me how to properly arrange the coffee cups, I said, signing off on another billion-dollar acquisition. And your father? God, Sarah. He's simultaneously proud and mortified. He keeps saying he should have known something was up when you bought that modest apartment in Singapore, the one that apparently takes up the top 3 floors of the city's most expensive building. I glanced at the latest property reports from my real estate division. He might want to avoid reading tomorrow's Wall Street Journal. Then, they're doing a feature on my global real estate portfolio. How bad? Let's just say that modest apartment was the least of my acquisitions. The Harrison family compound? I bought it last month through a shell company. I own the ground they're standing on while having their emergency meeting. Silence on the line. Then, Sarah, that's good business, I suggested. I learned from the best after all. Uncle Richard always said to acquire assets strategically. After hanging up, I turned to my actual assistant, not a secret CEO playing pretend, but a Harvard MBA who'd chosen to work for me over every major tech company. How's Operation Legacy proceeding? She pulled up encrypted files on her quantum tablet. We now control 73% of Harrison Industries subsidiaries through various holdings. The remaining 27% will be ours by market open tomorrow. Make it today, I instructed, straightening my actual wardrobe. A hand-tailored channel suit that cost more than Uncle Richard's annual bonus. Time to accelerate the timeline. The afternoon brought a parade of revelations. My modest office, a 3-story penthouse command center with AI-powered everything, welcomed a stream of shocked family members. Each arrival was a carefully choreographed demonstration of power. Aunt Patricia nearly fainted when she saw her prized charity organization's building on my acquisition list. Cousin Michael turned pale when he realized the startup that had rejected his job application last month was one of my subsidiaries. And Uncle Richard's prized client list. I'd acquired most of their companies while serving him coffee. Then came the call I'd been waiting for. Grandmother. My dear. Her voice carried its usual steel. The family seems to think you've orchestrated quite the coup. Not a coup, grandmother. Just good business. Indeed. A pause. Your grandfather would have loved this. He always said the quiet ones were the most dangerous. I smiled, remembering the old man who taught me chess while everyone else taught me filing systems. He left me his first dollar, you know. Said sometimes the best moves are the ones nobody sees coming. The family meeting continues tomorrow. Will you attend? Of course. It's being held on my property, after all. Another pause. Then, well played, my dear. Very well played indeed. The sun was setting over the city as I reviewed the final details of our global restructuring. On my screens, global dynamics innovations were transforming industries across continents. The technology Uncle Richard had called unnecessary was revolutionizing everything from manufacturing to artificial intelligence. James appeared with fresh intelligence. Your cousins have sent a combined total of 42 job applications to our HR department. Your aunt is telling everyone she always knew you were special. And Uncle Richard? He's just discovered that his favorite whiskey distillery is now owned by your beverage division. I adjusted my quantum-powered watch, worth more than their combined net worth. Schedule a family dinner for next week. My treat. The country club they could never get a membership to. No, the one I bought this morning. And James? Make sure the private dining room displays our latest technology. It's time they understood exactly what they've been dismissing as secretarial work. My phone buzzed with updates. Our AI division had achieved another breakthrough. Our quantum computing platform had solved another impossible problem. And our market cap had just exceeded the GDP of several small nations. One more thing. I called as James headed out. That list of companies that rejected Harrison Industries partnership offers over the years. Yes. Buy them. All of them. Then put Uncle Richard's old office furniture in their lobbies. Let's call it a design installation. He raised an eyebrow. That's 34 companies across 4 continents. 35, actually. I just added Uncle Richard's golf club to the list. I turned back to the city view, watching lights flicker on across the empire I'd built while they thought I was filing papers. Sometimes the best lessons about knowing your place come from someone changing the entire playing field. The quantum processors hummed softly in the background, calculating futures they couldn't begin to imagine. Tomorrow's family meeting wouldn't just change Harrison Industries, it would reshape the entire family dynamic. And I was just getting started. The Harrison family estate, my estate now, loomed against the morning sky as my quantum-powered Maybach glided through the gates. Security teams, discreetly positioned throughout the grounds, confirmed my arrival through encrypted channels. 5 years of playing secretary had taught me the value of staying 10 steps ahead. The families all assembled in the main hall. James reported through my earpiece. Your uncle arrived an hour early, tried to access his old office files, and discovered his passwords no longer work. He's been pacing ever since. I smiled, checking my reflection in the car's smart glass window. Gone was the meek secretary's uniform. Today's armor was a hand-tailored Valentino suit that cost more than Uncle Richard's car. And grandmother, holding court in her usual chair. Though technically, it's your chair now, since you own the building and everything in it. The front door opened before I reached it. Inside, the familiar family tableau had taken on a different energy. Cousins who once ignored me now straightened their postures. Aunts who dismissed me as Richard's charity case nervously adjusted their jewelry from companies I now controlled. Sarah. Grandmother's voice cut through the tension. She hadn't moved from her throne-like chair, but her eyes held new respect. I believe you called this meeting. I did. I took my place at the head of the room, enjoying how Uncle Richard shifted uncomfortably in his peripheral position. We need to discuss the future of Harrison Industries. All of it. There's nothing to discuss, Uncle Richard burst out. This hostile takeover is completely legal, I interrupted, pulling up holographic displays from my quantum watch. As are the other acquisitions you haven't discovered yet. The room filled with floating data, company structures, ownership chains, asset portfolios. The family gasped as they realized the extent of my empire. That building in Dubai, Cousin Michael stammered. The one you said you were visiting for work, is Global Dynamics Middle Eastern headquarters. Yes, I swiped to another display. Just like that small consulting project in Tokyo was actually me orchestrating the largest tech merger in Asian history. Aunt Patricia clutched her pearls. But you were just Richard's secretary. No, grandmother corrected, a hint of pride in her voice. She was never just anything. Were you, dear? I stood, commanding the room with the presence I'd hidden for years. While you were all teaching me to know my place, I was building something none of you could imagine. Global Dynamics isn't just a company, it's the future. The holographs shifted to show our latest innovations. Quantum computing platforms revolutionizing industries, AI systems solving impossible problems, clean energy solutions transforming cities. That silly little laptop you mocked me for always typing on, Uncle Richard? It was controlling operations across 47 countries. Those unnecessary coffee breaks? I was closing billion-dollar deals from the supply closet. My phone buzzed. Another acquisition complete. I added it to the display with a casual gesture. Oh, and I just bought your favorite golf club. The one that blackballed me last year when I applied for membership? I'm turning it into a quantum research facility. The room erupted in chaos. Cousins frantically checked their phones, discovering their trust funds were now invested in my companies. Aunts realized that their social clubs were operating in buildings I owned. Uncle Richard slumped in his chair, his Rolex looking particularly obsolete next to my quantum tech. "But why?" my mother finally asked. "Why pretend for so long?" "Because you all taught me the most valuable lesson in business. Underestimation is power." I pulled up footage from yesterday's CNBC interview, my first public appearance as Global Dynamics CEO. While you were busy dismissing me, I was learning every weakness, every flaw in your empire, and building something better. Grandmother's laugh cut through the tension. "Oh, Richard, you fool. You gave her the perfect cover. Who notices the secretary in the corner? Who censors themselves around the girl bringing coffee? You handed her every secret we had." "The board meets in an hour," I announced, gathering my things. "I've arranged for cars to take everyone home, to the homes I now own, by the way. Grandmother, you'll stay for the meeting." "Wouldn't miss it, dear." She rose regally. Someone should witness the changing of the guard. Uncle Richard made one last attempt. "The family will never accept." "The family," I cut in, "doesn't have a choice. Check your portfolios." While we've been talking, Global Dynamics completed its acquisition of every remaining Harrison asset. The papers are calling it the most brilliant corporate takeover in history. I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Uncle Richard, clear out your office by 5. My actual secretary needs the space. She has an MBA from Harvard, by the way. I believe in paying for quality." The quantum processors hummed through the building, my building, as I walked out, leaving behind a family realizing they were now working for the secretary they'd underestimated. My phone lit up with notifications. Stock prices soaring, innovations launching, empires rising. Grandmother caught up with me at the door. "Your grandfather would be proud," she said softly. "He always said true power isn't in what you show, but in what you hide." "I learned from the best," I replied, stepping into my waiting car. Though I did add some modern touches to his philosophy. "The quantum technology?" "No," I smiled. "The satisfaction of proving everyone wrong." As we drove away, I watched the family scatter to their newly owned homes, their newly controlled companies, their newly reshaped world. The secretary had become the CEO, the coffee girl had become the queen, and the family that had underestimated me for so long was now living in my empire. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's succeeding so spectacularly that those who doubted you become footnotes in your story. And as for that old saying about knowing your place, well, sometimes your place is exactly where they least expect you to be, at the top. The text arrived at precisely 7:43 a.m. "Family meeting tonight. Non-negotiable. We need to discuss your situation. Dinner at 6. Don't be late." "Mom." I stared at my phone screen in my real office, the entire 47th floor of the Apex Tower. Not the shabby co-working space my family thought I operated from. The wall of windows offered a panoramic view of the city skyline, a view I'd earned but never bragged about. "Another intervention?" Michael, my COO, asked from the doorway. He'd been with me since the beginning, one of the few who knew the full story. "Apparently, my situation requires immediate family attention," I replied, making air quotes. "They're probably worried about my mental health after seeing my ancient Toyota in their driveway last weekend." Michael laughed, then turned serious. "You know, the Bloomberg piece is scheduled for tonight. Are you sure you want to be at your parents' house when it breaks?" I smiled, straightening the simple black blazer I'd deliberately chosen for today. "Actually, I can't think of a better place to be. The last 2 years had been an elaborate performance. While my family thought I was struggling with a failing startup, I'd built Neurotech into a technological powerhouse. Our AI systems were revolutionizing everything from healthcare to space exploration. Major tech companies were our clients, though they didn't know the founder's identity. I'd kept my name out of everything, operating through layers of corporations and trusted proxies. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was my sister Elizabeth. "Mom's worried sick about you. That apartment in the bad part of town. The clearance rack clothes. Please tell me you'll let us help you get back on track." If only they knew that I owned the entire bad apartment building, or that my clearance rack outfit today was actually hand-tailored Italian wool, deliberately distressed to look cheap. The deception had started as self-protection and evolved into an elaborate experiment. How long could I build an empire while my family thought I was failing? I arrived at my parents' Tudor mansion at 5:58 p.m. The circular driveway displayed the usual lineup of luxury vehicles: Dad's Mercedes, Mom's Range Rover, Elizabeth's Porsche, and my brother James's Tesla. My Toyota looked comically out of place, exactly as intended. The housekeeper opened the door before I could knock. "They're in the living room, Miss Sarah," she whispered, giving me a sympathetic look. "Your mother's been preparing all day." I could imagine. Mom's preparations usually involved color-coded folders of job listings and testimonials from her friends' children about the joys of corporate life. The living room was set up like an intervention. Mom perched on her favorite armchair, designer outfit perfectly pressed. Dad stood by the fireplace in his power pose, the same one he used in corporate boardrooms. Elizabeth and her husband Richard sat on one sofa, while James and his wife Margaret occupied the other. The TV mounted above the fireplace was tuned to Bloomberg, providing background noise. "Sarah, darling." Mom rose to air kiss my cheek. "You look comfortable." Translation: "You look poor." "Thanks, Mom. This blazer was a great find at the thrift store." Elizabeth nearly choked on her wine. Dad cleared his throat. "Sarah, we've asked you here because we're concerned. It's been 2 years since you left your position at Goldman Sachs." "A managing director position," Mom interjected, "to pursue this startup idea. We've been patient, supportive." I bit back a laugh. Their version of support had been weekly emails about job openings and constant reminders about the benefits of real employment. "Your mother, and I think it's time to discuss next steps," Dad continued. "Moving forward, perhaps considering a return to banking," Elizabeth supplied helpfully. "Marcus at Goldman still asks about you." "Or consulting," James added. "My firm is always looking for—" "I'm doing fine," I interrupted. "Fine." Mom's voice rose. "Living in that tiny apartment. Such a waste of your potential. Harvard MBA, top of your class. And now what? Some mysterious tech project you won't even explain properly." The TV behind them caught my attention. The Bloomberg logo flashed, and I checked my watch. 6:30 p.m. Right on schedule. "Breaking news," the anchor announced. "The tech world's biggest mystery is about to be solved. The founder of Neurotech, whose identity has been the subject of intense speculation, will be revealed tonight. Sources value the company at $5.2 billion. My family barely noticed the broadcast, too busy listing my failures. Sarah, Richard, Elizabeth's husband, leaned forward with his best mansplaining expression. "I've looked into the tech sector. It's oversaturated. Without serious capital, SOURCEACONFIRM. The TV blared. NEURATCFOUNDERCARABENET. The room froze. 6 heads whipped toward the screen, where my professional headshot now filled the display. The 29-year-old HARVARDGURADUATE has BUILT, the most NNOVATEAI HEONPANY in Silicon Valley. OPE rating incomplete SECREC for 2 years. Mom's wineglass slipped from her fingers, staining the Persian carpet. Dad's mouth opened and closed without sound. Elizabeth grabbed her phone, frantically Googling. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God." James stood up so fast, he knocked over a lamp. "This has to be a mistake. Sarah's company is. She works in a co-working space. She drives a Toyota." I pulled out my phone as it started buzzing with notifications. Actually, I own the building that houses that co-working space, and several others. The Toyota is just practical. Why waste money on flashy cars when you can invest in appreciating assets? 5 billion, Dad stammered. .2, I corrected. Though that valuation is from last month. It's probably higher now. Margaret, who'd been scrolling on her tablet, looked up with wide eyes. The Forbes 30 Under 30 list just updated. You're number 1. Sarah. Mom finally found her voice. "Why didn't you tell us?" I stood up, smoothing my deliberately shabby blazer. "You never asked. You were too busy telling me what I was doing wrong to notice what I was doing right." My phone buzzed again. Michael with an urgent update about our latest acquisition. I have to take this. But before I go, I reached into my bag and pulled out 6 manila envelopes, dropping them on the coffee table. These are NDAs. If you want to know what Neurotech actually does, you'll need to sign them. Standard procedure for anyone who wants to discuss the company with me. NDAs. Richard scoffed. For family? Especially for family. After all, I smiled sweetly. I learned about protecting assets from the best. Right, Dad? The Bloomberg anchor was still talking. Revolutionary AI technology. Major contracts with NASA, Google, and Apple. The most successful stealth startup in history. Oh, I paused at the door. And Mom? About that tiny apartment. I own the building. All 50 floors of it. The penthouse is quite nice, but I prefer to keep things simple. It helps me focus on what really matters. I left them there, surrounded by their luxury brands and shattered assumptions, while the TV continued to announce my success to the world. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them discover just how wrong they've been all along. And this was just the beginning. The morning after the Bloomberg reveal was chaos incarnate. My phone had 312 missed calls, 1,547 text messages, and enough emails to crash a lesser server. The family group chat, usually reserved for holiday planning and passive-aggressive commentary about my life choices, had exploded. I sat in my actual home office, not the modest apartment they'd visited, but the 3-story penthouse occupying the crown of one of the city's most exclusive buildings. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the sunrise over the harbor, while multiple screens displayed real-time data from Neurotech operations worldwide. Michael arrived at 7 a.m. sharp, carrying 2 cups of artisanal coffee and a tablet full of updates. Your cousin Trevor, the one who called your startup a cute hobby at Thanksgiving, has tried to connect on LinkedIn 15 times since midnight, he reported, fighting a smile. And your brother's wife, Margaret, has suddenly updated her profile to mention she's your sister-in-law. I sipped my coffee, scanning global market reactions. What's the media situation? Unprecedented. Wall Street Journal wants an exclusive. Time magazine is offering a cover story. TED wants you to keynote. The White House called. Apparently, the president is interested in our AI security protocols. He paused. Oh, and your father's company stock dropped 8% this morning. That detail made me look up. Bennett Global, Dad's pride and joy, had been struggling to adapt to the digital revolution. I'd offered to help 18 months ago, presenting a detailed digital transformation strategy. He dismissed it as trendy tech nonsense and suggested I focus on real business fundamentals. My phone lit up with Mom's face. This time, I answered. Darling. Her voice dripped honey. We're hosting an emergency family brunch. The board members will be there. Your father thinks. Can't. Flying to Dubai in 2 hours. Meeting with sovereign wealth funds. But this is crucial. The family's reputation. Mom, I'm about to announce a $2 billion acquisition. Whatever Dad's thinking will have to wait. Silence. Then, $2 billion? Give my regrets to the board. And tell Dad he might want to look into his company's cybersecurity. The vulnerabilities I noticed last year, they're worse now. After hanging up, I turned to Michael. How's Operation Phoenix progressing? He grinned, pulling up a secure file. Right on schedule. Your family has no idea we've been systematically acquiring Bennett Global shares through various shell companies. We're at 34% ownership. Make it 40% by month's end. I stood straightening my now designer suit. Time to show them what trendy tech nonsense can do. The next few days were a whirlwind of strategic moves and damage control. Elizabeth sent hourly texts, alternating between apologies and business proposals. James tried to schedule meetings through every connection he had. Dad's executive assistant called every 15 minutes. Then came the announcement that shook the family foundation to its core. I was in Singapore, finalizing details with our newest quantum computing division, when the news broke. Neuratech had developed an AI-driven industrial automation system that could revolutionize traditional manufacturing, exactly what Bennett Global desperately needed to remain competitive. My phone rang. Dad. Sarah. His voice was strained. The board is meeting tomorrow. Our stock has dropped 15% since your reveal. Major investors are questioning why we didn't partner with you when we had the chance. They're calling for new leadership. I know. You know? Dad, check your latest shareholder report. The detailed version this time. Papers rustled, followed by a sharp intake of breath. 40%. But how? When? Remember when you said I needed to learn about real business fundamentals? I learned, very thoroughly. What do you want? Tomorrow's board meeting. I'll be there. And Dad? Wear your best suit. CNBC will be covering it. I ended the call and gazed out over the Singapore skyline. Michael appeared with fresh intelligence. Your mother's called every PR firm in New York, trying to control the narrative. Elizabeth's husband is quietly shopping his resume. And that trust fund cousin who mocked your little computer project at Christmas? He's asking if we're accepting applications. I smiled, adjusting my Cartier watch, the one I'd bought, but never worn to family functions. Schedule a family dinner for next week. My treat. Book the private room at that restaurant they could never get into. The 3-star Michelin one? No, the one I acquired last quarter. The pieces were falling perfectly into place. I'd spent 2 years being underestimated, dismissed, and pitied. Now it was time to show them exactly what happens when you mistake patience for strategy. But first, I had other matters to attend to. My phone buzzed with a message from our Tokyo office. The quantum computing breakthrough was ready for testing. Another from our Berlin team. The neural interface prototype had exceeded expectations. And a third from our secret facility in Nevada. Project Prometheus was ahead of schedule. Michael, I called as he headed for the door. One more thing. That list of companies Dad rejected partnership offers from over the past 5 years. Yes. Buy them. All of them. He raised an eyebrow. That's 13 companies across 4 continents. 14 actually. I found another one this morning. I turned back to the window, watching the sun rise over a city that had no idea what was coming. It's time to show them what empire building really looks like. The real game wasn't just about proving them wrong anymore. It was about reshaping the entire playing field. And I was just getting started. The morning of the Bennett Global Board meeting dawned with a certain poetic tension. I arrived in my custom Rolls-Royce Phantom, no more playing modest. The security guard who'd once directed me to visitor parking now scrambled to open the executive gate. Ms. Bennett. We weren't expecting. Yes, you were. I handed him a folder. Your new security protocols. Effective immediately. Neuratech's AI systems detected 7 vulnerabilities in your current setup. The lobby of Bennett Tower was chaos. Reporters clustered outside, held back by security. CNBC had set up a live feed. The stock ticker above the reception desk showed Bennett Global's shares continuing their downward spiral. My heels clicked against marble as I crossed to the private elevator. The one I'd been told countless times was for executive use only. The same elevator where, 2 years ago, Dad had suggested I take some time to reconsider my priorities. Elizabeth intercepted me at the 50th floor. Her Channel suit couldn't hide her nervousness. Sarah, please, can we talk? The family's in crisis. Mom hasn't slept in days. And Dad is about to learn the difference between legacy and innovation. I checked my watch. A rare Patek Philippe that cost more than the car she bragged about at last year's Christmas dinner. The board meeting starts in 20 minutes. I suggest you prepare yourself. Prepare? For what? For the future. The executive floor was a hive of anxious energy. Board members huddled in corners, whispering urgently. Dad's longtime allies avoided eye contact. My brother James stood by the coffee machine, manically refreshing his phone's stock app. Mom appeared, perfect as always except for the worry lines around her eyes. Darling, whatever you're planning is already done. I nodded to Michael, who'd materialized with a team of lawyers. The paperwork was filed this morning. The boardroom fell silent as I entered. 24 pairs of eyes watched me take my seat, not in the guest chair where I had sat during my failed pitch 2 years ago, but at the head of the table, Dad's chair. This meeting will come to order, the board chairman announced, his voice shaking slightly. We're here to discuss the future of Bennett Global, I interrupted, opening my laptop. The room's screens came alive with my presentation. Or more accurately, its survival. I stood, commanding the room just as Dad had taught me, though never expecting I'd use these lessons against him. In the past week, Bennett Global's stock has dropped 23%. Market confidence is at an all-time low. Your technological infrastructure is obsolete. Your market share is eroding, and your competitors are evolving while you stagnate. Dad's face reddened. Now see here. Your AI initiatives have failed. Your digital transformation is years behind schedule. Enter cybersecurity. I clicked to the next slide, showing a real-time visualization of their network vulnerabilities. Well, let's just say it's fortunate that Neurotech discovered these weaknesses before someone less friendly did. The board members shifted uncomfortably. They'd seen the numbers. They knew the truth. However, I continued, there is a solution. Neurotech is prepared to offer a complete technological overhaul. Our AI systems, our quantum computing platform, our neural interface technology, all of it, will modernize every aspect of Bennett Global's operations. Hope flickered across several faces. Then I delivered the knockout blow. As of this morning, Neurotech owns 51% of Bennett Global's shares. This isn't an offer, it's a notification. The merger paperwork has been filed. The press release goes out in 5 minutes. The room exploded. Dad slumped in his chair. Mom gasped. James dropped his phone. You can't do this. One board member shouted. This is hostile. This is business, I corrected. Something this family taught me very well. The shareholders will be pleased. Our stock is up 12% in pre-market trading just on merger rumors. I clicked to the final slide. The restructuring begins immediately. New board, new management, new direction. I turned to my father. You always said Bennett Global would be my inheritance someday. I just decided not to wait. The next hour was a blur of signatures, legal documents, and shell-shocked expressions. By noon, I was CEO of both Neurotech and Bennett Global. The empire I'd built had just doubled in size. As the board members filed out, I finally turned to my family. Now, about dinner tonight. Dinner? Elizabeth looked dazed. How can you think about dinner? Because I own the restaurant, and the building it's in, and most of this block, actually. I smiled. I thought it would be a good place to discuss the future of our family enterprises. All of them. Mom stepped forward. Sarah, why didn't you just tell us? All this dissection, this elaborate game. Would you have listened? 2 years ago, I tried to tell you about AI's potential, about the future of technology. You all laughed, called it my little hobby. Well, my little hobby just reshaped the entire industry. I gathered my things, ready to head to my first press conference as CEO of the merged companies. Dinner's at 8. Don't be late. And dress appropriately. Forbes wants family photos for next month's cover story. As I walked out, Dad called after me. When did you become so ruthless? I turned back one last time. I learned from the best, Dad. You taught me that business is business. I just played the game better than you expected. The elevator doors closed on their stunned faces. My phone buzzed. Both companies' stocks were soaring. Michael appeared with my schedule. The family dinner tonight, he said. Should I arrange security? No need, I smiled. Just make sure the photographers get my good side. After all, this is what a modern empire looks like. The sun was setting over the city as my car pulled away from Bennett Tower. My tower now. In the rearview mirror, I could see my family standing at the window, watching me leave. But this time, I wasn't driving away in a Toyota. This time, I was driving toward the future I'd built in a car that cost more than their annual bonuses combined. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's succeeding so spectacularly that those who doubted you have no choice but to acknowledge your victory. And as for my situation that had so worried them, Well, some situations turn out better than anyone could have imagined.